All right, so now we're going to look at the filter types. So let's pop this back open now that we're comfortable with. Remember, all those features are just the same for each different filter type. Each one has a frequency, each one can be boosted and cut, and each one has a Q, which can, or resonance, which can narrow or widen its attacked frequency. Okay, so let's look at our filter types. We've got a few different filter types in Ableton. Okay, we've got a low cut, a quite strong one. We've got a smoother low cut. Okay. Careful with this one because it can actually add a slight boost in that that cutoff frequency. So it can be useful at times or also detrimental. We've got a low shelf. And this is again more of a gradual brushstroke approach to your low end, and is more transparent than the cutoffs. So the professionals tend to use this a bit more actually. Then you've got your bell, so it can either be up or down, boosting or cutting. Then we've got our notch. So this is if we find one frequency which is just terrible. So it could be good if you're doing some really interesting electronic processing and taking that away. I found that's often the case, maybe if you're using Corpus or something like that, you can just zone in and cut a real frequency away. But just be careful there because it is quite heavy-handed. So the pros really only use this if they need to, because it really does significantly change the sound of your sound or its timbre. Then we're going up to the high end now. So you can notice I can use the EQ point 1 as well up here. I can just move it around, right? I'll get rid of these guys just so we get a better visual. So this is a high shelf. So this is great on drums, great on high frequencies. It really brings them to life. It boosts this air frequency, which we're going to learn about next week. But anything 1K and onwards, from high synth lines to chords, drums, vocals, yeah, a slight boost. I mean, 6 is quite heavy, so I'd be looking at something like that, and that will not make it sound brittle at all, but just bring it to life. Yeah, that high shelf there is beautiful most of the time. Just be light with it. So that's our high shelf. You can also, roll things off, like with a bass line. Maybe you want to take away some of those frequencies so that other sounds, like your vocals, your drums, your chords, can get through in that pocket, and that's a great idea too. Something like that. 1 kilohertz is nice and important for bassline, so leave that one in there. Then we've got our reverse. We've got our high cuts or our low passes. Okay, so this is exactly the same with auto filter, so we're pretty used to that. So again, yeah, we can roll off all the high frequencies. Some people do this on sub bass lines down to about there. Just be careful not to roll off your kicks or your subs down to here a lot of the time, because a lot of the time every sound does need a little bit of high frequency to cut through in the mix, and that's a common trap when you're starting out to, I want deep bass or I want a deep kick, and just take everything away, and then that leaves the kick or bass finding it really hard to cut through in the mix. So that's our high cut, and then there's a more severe high cut as well. Okay, and that is our filter types.